Hi, I'm joined today by Danushka Nanayakkara, Assistant Vice President of Forecasting and Analysis at NAHB. Danushka, we're so excited to have you here today and really appreciate your time as we discuss rising costs impacting construction.
Thanks, Ashley. Thanks for inviting me to speak to you today.
Danushka, we've been seeing rising material and shipping costs impacting new construction since the pandemic started. Do you see any end in sight?
Yeah, it's a great question. Lumber prices have skyrocketed more than 200% since last spring. And this spike alone has caused the average cost of a new single family home to increase by more than 24,000 since last April. So it looks like the lumber prices are higher because of the supply shortages and the high demand because everybody was remodeling and the new construction that was going on. And until those are smoothed out, we will see price volatility. And because of lumber, the overall building materials prices climbed 8% over the last 12 months. So I think because of the issue that caused this price hike is the supply shortages and the high demand, I think we will see the price increases for at least the next few months, if not longer.
NAHB just reported that new single family home sales declined in February by 18%. Due to limited availability of lots, labor, lumber, and other building materials. Do you expect this gap to widen or narrow in the coming months?
So like you mentioned, new home sales fell 18% to a 775,000 units. This is the annualized rate in February. It is 12% lower compared to a year ago. And this is because the higher interest rates, supply shortages, and the rising material prices, like I mentioned before, particularly for lumber, has caused the new home sales to decline in February. At NHB, we do forecast new home sales and we expect the sales to moderate this year. So 2021, we expecting 7% gain over 2020. Just keep in mind, 2020, we saw 20% gain in new single family home sales compared to 2019. And next year, we think the year-over-year gain is going to be less than 1.5%. So definitely the sales are going to moderate in the next couple of years.
What do you think are the most important developing economic trends at this point in 2021 and why?
On a home building perspective, I think there are three things that we are paying attention to right now. The run-up in lumber costs, the growth in interest rates, and the geography of home building demand. So I mentioned, lumber prices are up almost 200% since last April, and it is because of the increase for lumber, demand for lumber, and also, the decline in Canadian imports as well. It's adding staggering costs for new single family homes, and we have to bring in new lumber supply. So we need additional lumber supply to moderate the price growth. So that's on the lumber front. Interest rate. Last year, GDP contracted 3.5%, and most forecasters, including us, are seeing robust economic growth this year. So because of the economic growth expectations, interest rates also have been increasing. The 10-year treasury rate, which is the key determinant of mortgage interest rates, are up more than 70 basis points from the start of 2021 to mid-March. So given the growth in home prices, construction costs, and higher interest rates means, the erosion of housing affordability. So we did an analysis recently that said, the rise in mortgage rates during just the past 2 months have priced out more than 1.3 million households out of the market for a medianly priced home. So, even the demographics and the shift in housing preferences to single family homes are supporting a solid home buyer traffic that is captured by the NAHB Wells Fargo Housing Market Index. the decline in housing affordability will dampen some of the growth potential for 2021 in terms for single family home building. So that's lumber and interest rates. And the last thing is the geography of housing demand. We came up with this term last year, the suburban shift. And, we have seen that the housing demand shift from urban core, like, high density areas to the outer suburbs, the exurbs and the rural markets. At lower cost, lower density areas, rely more on new construction for single family inventory. And then because of that, it increased home building last year. Because of the better than expected deployment of an effective vaccine, some of the housing demand could come back into the high density urban areas in 2021. This now will in turn increase the demand for townhouse construction and the smaller lot single family, and that could mean less growth in lower density markets.
What are some wild cards that could shake things up in 2021?
I think in order to talk about 2021, we have to address 2020. 2020 was a year like no other. The biggest, probably the wild card in 2020 was the pandemic. So again, in 2021, that is the United States' ability to control and contain the virus, not only the virus, the new mutations, and also the effective distribution of vaccines. This plays a huge role in our forecast for this year. And if we cannot keep a lid on the new variants, if we can't contain it, it could mean additional, probably not lockdowns that we saw last spring, but additional restrictions, which could put a dent in housing demand. And also, in turn would put a dent in housing inventory and sales, slowing down the housing market and putting increased pressure on buyers. But looking at it optimistically, if the vaccine rollout is successful, it could lead to better than expected sales and strong increase for house prices and inventory. Either way, the COVID-19 is going to play a large impact on housing market this year. And, on a broadly speaking, on a macroeconomic sense, the recovery is kind of uneven, with those with jobs and those without jobs, as well as industries such as goods have seen a recovery. And, unfortunately, industries like services, which have not recovered to the pre-pandemic levels. So in the short term, this could mean less consumer spending, which could broadly impact, businesses and economic growth. And in the long term, this could impact the housing market because the would-be buyers would disappear. This would in turn cool the demand for housing and drive down home prices.
Thank you so much, Danushka, for joining us. If you're interested in learning more about what's going on in the housing market and the future of economic development within this industry, please go to nahb.org and have a wonderful day. Thank you, Danushka.
Thank you so much, Ashley. It was a pleasure.